we were talking about what options remain for Britain at this time and if remaining in the EU could be one of them. Let's go now to former Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Keshi in Abuja, as we discuss those options and how Britain's situation affects the rest of the world. Ambassador, thank you for joining us on the program. Have you given up hope that Britain will leave the European Union?
The British Parliament is bringing in 2 or 3 new indicative votes to the House. And I think on Wednesday, the Prime Minister would also present her own deal, which she's been asking the Parliament to approve. So right now, it is believed that the Prime Minister is working very hard to get members, especially of our parties and some sympathizers, to approve her deal. And if that goes through, or if the indicative votes by the House agree on one option, then there's no need to lose hope that the British will quit the European Union come April 12th and the rest of it. But I think what we need to bear in mind is that from the beginning of the creation of the European Union, when it was the Economic Commission of the European Economic Commission, Britain has never been enthusiastic about being a member of this union, and the Europeans themselves have not shown too keen an interest in having the British. So this problem is not new. What is just new is that over the years, both the British and the desire of so many British citizens not to be part of Europe has just, escalated and has gotten to a boiling point. So this is where we are now today.
Do you think they should be given longer time to figure out a deal as proposed by the Prime Minister Theresa May?
You need to realize that Theresa May, as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, triggered Article 50 in 2016, which gave the British quite a lengthy time or a long time to make arrangements for their legal and proper exit from the European Union. So what other long time does the British government and Parliament need to complete this deal? The truth of the matter is that you can actually trace the current problems they're having over Brexit to the fact that to the referendum, where a very simple question of yes and no was asked, and nobody gave serious thought to the consequences of quitting and the consequences of remaining in the European Union. And so at the tail end of the negotiation which the Prime Minister has been engaged with, everybody suddenly discovered that there are aspects of the deal and the reality of the vote they did a couple of, in 2016 or 2015, that they didn't like. And so they have this situation with them. I'm not too sure with the current situation that we have, that any long time, anybody can find a consensus, because they have the Prime Minister's deal, which has been rejected about 3 or 4 times. You have 8 indicative votes given different options by the Parliament, which has been rejected by the Parliament itself. And there is nobody coming up with an alternative plan on how the British or the Britain should leave the European Union. So it's something I think that at the end of the day, they will have to find, either they decide to remain or they go for a general election, which, quite frankly, as of today, the Conservatives do not want, because they are afraid that Labour might win the election and form the next government.
Well, a no-deal scenario benefits no one, Ambassador, I'm sure you know. But could that be the scare that Britain needs to unite on the issue of Brexit?
If the Prime Minister's offer to quit, was taken seriously, by now you'd have seen quite a number of contestants wanting to take the Prime Ministership, from her. You need to bear in mind that if she goes, she'll be about the 4th, I think, Prime Minister to be brought down by the issue of British relationship with the European Union. There was Margaret Thatcher. There was John Major. Cameron was actually brought down by this same issue because he called for the referendum, hoping to win. He lost because he was campaigning with the Remainers. He believed that it was important for Britain to remain in Europe. So four prime ministers have gone, and if Theresa May goes on this, it becomes five. And she knows this, and it's also possible that this is why she's making the offer, knowing fully well that there's nobody currently enthusiastic about occupying the post of the prime minister at this point in time, and to be confronted with this same issue. A no deal at this point in time would scare nobody, because the parliament had already voted for no deal. Theresa May is not interested in no deal. The British populace, they are not interested in no deal. So there's no scare about, no deal. And she, from day one, she actually won. That the alternative to her deal is no deal. It was unacceptable to her. And by the fact that members of parliament have also voted in a series of indicative votes that they do not want a no-deal situation, it just shows that at this point in time, I think nothing scares the British people, who are divided on the best way to get out of the European Union.
The Prime Minister, Theresa May, a few days before the vote, told parliamentarians she was willing to resign if it was in the way of lawmakers approving her deal. Does Britain really need another Prime Minister to lead them out of the EU, or are you confident the parliamentarians can do a good job all by themselves?
The offer of Theresa May to resign, honestly, is not attractive to any politician in Britain today. For one, the issue of Britain's relationship with the European Union has brought down four prime ministers, I think. As of now, nobody has shown keen interest. Of course, there are maneuvers behind the scene, but nobody has shown interest because nobody, apart from Theresa May, has actually brought to the table a deal that anybody in Britain today could consider a better deal than Margaret Thatcher, than Theresa May. As you realize, Parliament came up and voted and came up with some indicative votes, giving various options. They were all rejected by Parliament. Now, if Theresa May's offer was that attractive, you would have seen quite a number of potential candidates, campaigning quietly to replace her. But I think everybody is kind of jittery or not too sure about getting involved with this issue at this particular time. So I have a feeling that Theresa May might actually stay longer as a prime minister, except she decides to go the full hog and call a general election, which she's not interested in, because she's determined to ensure that Labour do not become, the Labour leader do not become the prime minister, or that Labour do not win the next election. No conservative wants to see Labour in power. So I guess they are going to try as much as possible in the next few days to find a common ground, particularly among the Conservatives and the Democratic Union Party, to see how they can, help this lady to across the finishing line. But if everything fails this week, I just think that they'll probably ask for a longer time, in the hope that within that same period, they will find a better deal that will satisfy everybody in Britain. But as I've said earlier, it's difficult. This is an issue since 1975 or 1973. Britain joined in 1973. By 1975, some Europeans actually wanted Britain out because they thought that the British involvement and cantankerous behavior, if I have to use that one, was actually distracting Europe from its core business. And as you can see today, the bulk of the European officials are complaining that in the last 2 years, they've done practically nothing but focusing on the issue of Brexit. So both parties, or both sides, or all the parties in this deal, in this business, they just have to sit down one way or the other and find an acceptable solution to everybody. But that's going to be very difficult and challenging.
Ambassador Joe Keshi, thank you again for speaking with us on Diplomatic Channel. This is where we end the program today, but the conversation doesn't have to end. Let's talk more on @Amarachi_Ubani and @Channels TV. I'll see you next time.